Welcome back to Anxiety Chats. Today we have another anonymous anxiety story.
We will be reading a story about the loss of a puppy and how compassion led to finding it.
As always, if you would like to be involved with us at Anxiety Chats, you can send your anonymous story through the link in our description.
Or you can come on the podcast to chat with us in person. Go to the description of wherever you're listening to this podcast.
I have always been a dog lover, ever since I was little. My doctor had recommended my mum that I get a puppy because it would help me with my mood and energy to socialise. So I had a couple of doggies throughout my life. I loved them very much. Over time I lost them because they got sick and old, so I also learned about grieving a pet. When I started college, I decided it was time for a new doggie. This time it would be one that I would choose. Not that I had anything against my other dogs, it's just that this time I wanted to choose one in particular. The dog that I chose was at a shelter and he was a mix of a husky with something else. But he was beautiful and hairy and had beautiful blue eyes. He was about 10 months old, or that's what the doctor thought. He had been abandoned and taken to a shelter. As I started my life with my new pet, I would go to college and actually take him with me. Sometimes my friends helped with my puppy, and he participated even in the parties and activities we had. However, one morning, I was walking him to the beach without a leash, and stupid me didn't realise that he was a little bit anxious like his mama, and after seeing so many people and other dogs, he kinda got scared and started running away from me. I chased him, but the crowd and the many triggers didn't help. I had lost my puppy. I spent the whole day looking for him, asking every single person if they had seen him. I was hoping that the person that would catch him would look at his collar and see my information. I was praying that I would get a phone call. Being an anxious person and someone that has experienced multiple panic attacks for even the smallest inconveniences, I think it's needless to say that I myself started panicking. My anxiety was over the roof, and it felt like I had lost my one companion that actually gets me. I felt that I myself was going to literally die if I didn't find my puppy. For whatever reason, call it the fact that I chose him, call it whatever you want, we had connected a deeper level. I wasn't ready to lose him, so I immediately started printing pages of his face with my information, and I put it all over the beach, all over the avenue that connected to the beach. I started asking if anyone had seen my puppy. I didn't care if it was embarrassing. I didn't care that I lost a week worth of classes and potentially a midterm. I didn't care. I was completely devastated, and even my friends decided to help.
After a couple days of searching, I went to my therapist because I couldn't take the pain of losing him. I didn't understand how it was that my puppy got lost so fast, and I couldn't get over the fact that it was my fault. I cried like a baby in front of my therapist. I felt like I had lost something so valuable to me. It was like a piece of my heart had disappeared, and it was even worse than the breakup I had previously. Just when I started giving up and wishing that maybe someone good had caught him, wishing that someone good would find him and actually give him a home, I got a phone call. It was an old lady. She asked, "Is this the owner of this beautiful puppy?" I immediately started crying and my heart started beating really fast. I confirmed his name, confirmed my information, and she said that she had found him, but had been a bit sick that didn't have the energy to do anything other than get better. In fact, when I went to pick him up, I noticed that the lady was living in a small old house and that she needed help around it. In exchange of my gratitude, I simply started cleaning her house and helped her with anything I could. I went to get her pain meds because she had something in her knee. Turns out the day that I was at the beach, she was also there. I also learned she was really far, as well as the distance my dog had run. She couldn't walk past a certain point in the beach, so I guess my puppy found her and found comfort in her. She said that she couldn't really grab him, but she also didn't want to encourage him to continue running away. So she gave him a treat and slowly started walking back to her house. I guess my puppy followed her because he trusted her. I was gonna ask why it took her a whole week to call me, but seeing the conditions where she lived, I noticed that it was her who needed help, and that probably calling me was the last thing in her mind. She still did, so I was grateful. That day, not only did I rescue my puppy, but I also made a friend because I noticed that she was lonely like me and probably needed more help than she knew. We still visit her every now and then, and she learned about my disabilities. She realized that I'm also a lost soul that needs a lot of help, and talking to her is always a nice thing. It's comforting. This story taught me 2 lessons. One is put a leash on your puppy, and you never know who you're going to meet. You never know who's going to need your help. You never know where destiny might lead you. What a nice story.
It's such a nice story.
I like it.
I love it so much.
It really is.
I love like the
Me
thought
too.
of those two could have passed each other earlier that day on that beach, like, and just not, like, I live right next to a beach, and I always think about this, like, every single person you see on that beach that day will have had, like, has a story, and probably a story about anxiety. Like, it doesn't feel like it when you're in your moment and you're feeling like anxious and you suffer from panic attacks and or whatever it might be you struggle with. But every single person you pass on that beach will have a story about anxiety, which is why I love anxiety chats too.
Me too. I love it. Honestly, you're so right. I think compassion is the right word. And this could apply to anything. You know, sometimes things happen, you go to a store, or someone runs into you, or like you find a rude person, or there's some, interactions that sometimes you're about to lose it too, and you want to talk back at them, but then you think about like all these people, every person crossing your path has a story, right? Yeah. And they might be rude to you, or but they might be going through something, and that kind of helps you to be compassionate about it, and it's so true. Like these 2 people, might have crossed paths, and they're strangers, but you really don't know what they're going through. It's so nice that it says that the dog found comfort in her. I believe that a lot, actually. I feel like dogs know, they can sense something.
100%. And also, by the way, to the person that wrote this story, huskies are notorious for running away. Like, I know a few huskies that just like, they just like to run. They like to run away. But it sounds like this, and obviously like this puppy wasn't intentionally trying to find this very woman and all this kind of stuff, but it was meant to be. The story was meant to be. They were meant to find each other. And the fact that this woman then started to clean her house and help her with her pain meds, it's like, this is just like how we should be living. And like where I live in Edinburgh, there's like, it's quite a small seaside town, and there's like loads of different types of groups around me that is all about like helping each other, but without money. Like it's kind of like, so I know a woman that had lost her mum, and the community dropped off soup, homemade soup, to her door every day for like a couple of weeks. Or there'll be somebody that's like,
so nice.
I'm really struggling with keeping on top of my ironing or my washing because it's just too much for me. And so somebody will go around and do their washing, and then exchange, that person will teach them how to knit or something. I don't know. It's just whatever people need. Aww. It's like, and it's just so beautiful. And that, I believe that's how we can better our mental health, through community, through like just loving each other.
So true. You just reminded me of something that one of my therapists in the past told me. I was looking for ways to cope with my anxiety at the moment, my depression, and he said something really good. It was like, you want to help yourself, try helping others, like just try to do something that will help somebody else, And I kid you not, I signed up for programs. Like, I think there was this program where you would collect clothes and food, and like you would wake up really early in the morning, go do that. Everybody would go gather, and then, or make breakfast, or, lunch boxes, and just go give it to homeless people or children or whatever the cause was. So I started doing that. And after a period of 6 months, I started feeling so much better. It was almost like it was healing to do that, to go help people and to just interact with them, or a simple thank you. It's kind of like food for your own soul,
Mm-hmm.
And this might sound a little bit selfish. Obviously, that's not the point of helping, but it does. It's a big pro,
Yes.
to helping others,
I think having a purpose,
which is so incredibly.
I think in a lot of
Exactly.
jobs as well
Yeah.
now, like a lot of people I know work in jobs that are like office jobs or jobs where they don't necessarily feel that important, or like they're doing anything to really help. And at the moment, and I mean it's always kind of been the case, but at the moment the news is really grim. Like it's constantly talking about the cost of living crisis, like people not being able to afford Christmas, people not being able to afford heat, all of these things. And just if you can do one little thing to help in that, you feel full of purpose, you feel like you're helping, you feel like you're creating a better world, and in return you are helping somebody, you're giving somebody hope. And you were just talking before we started this call, you were just talking about like standing in a queue for, you're currently in the USA. You can tell that story if you like.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. It's so funny, right? Everything kind of connects.
Yeah.
So, real quick, I had to travel a couple days ago, so I had to go through customs, and the line was criminal. It was ridiculous. And the room looked way smaller than it was, and we were going back and forth. It was like a zigzag line. And I don't know, I started having claustrophobia. I started kind of sweating a little bit, I even kind of had to take off my jacket and like kind of, pace a little bit to calm myself. But everything that I could see was people to my left, right, front, back. Everything's just like people, lots of people. And because I'm short, I'm only 5'1", I couldn't even see properly the end, but I swear a lady walked to the beginning of the line and to the end, and she said, I really thought this was a shorter room, because it felt like we had been walking forever. And
Brilliant.
every time we would go the next line, it felt like we were closer, but in reality, it was only the beginning. I told you, it felt like Alice in Wonderland, like everything was expanding, so it was like a never ending line. And so I started having like this moment of like, sort of like a panic attack, but it was like, I was trying so hard to control myself. And, the lady behind me, I think she noticed, and I told her, I'm a little claustrophobic, like things like this, moments where you're stuck, you can't really leave, or you lose your space. But also it's an airport, so you really have to go through this line.
Yeah.
So you're stuck, that feeling was driving me nuts. And God bless her soul, I don't know if she really was, maybe she had experience in the field, or maybe she knows someone that goes through like panic attacks, or maybe it was just like her being nice and empathetic. She started distracting me. She told me all kinds of stories about her life, her son, her house, maybe more information that she would have preferred to share. But in that moment, it was like, here, take it, like just so that she could distract me. And by the time she was done, I was so intrigued by her stories that I noticed I was next, and I was like, I couldn't even say bye to her properly because we were all being rushed, like next, you go there, and everybody was about to lose their flights. So all I managed to say was thank you, and she felt that. She was like, you're welcome, and I was like, what a nice person, like nobody does that. Everybody was cranky. Everybody was tired.
Yep.
Nobody wanted to talk to each other. They were like, you could see it in their faces, but she was just like so willing to help. And by the time I got to my plane, I was like, that was so nice, And I felt like almost like she knew what to do.
Yeah.
Which I was telling you, she was probably a therapist, but
Yeah.
who knows,
And again, she might have walked away from that.
She knew how to control the situation.
She might have walked away from that being like, oh, I feel so good. Like, I feel like I helped that girl. I feel like she can now get on the flight a little bit calmer, And that could have made her feel much better. And it's honestly one of my favorite things on this planet is unexpected meetings, like people meeting unexpectedly and helping each other. Honestly, I know that sounds ridiculous, but I just can't think of anything nicer than
No,
like
it completely is.
that beautiful relationship of like, even last night I was looking at my window and I saw a ambulance pull up outside like a house like a couple of streets down. Somebody I don't know who they are, and I saw like later online somebody had posted like, oh, that was the ambulance for my mother, like thank you so much to everyone that helped. Like apparently like loads of people around helped, and like they helped her find her purse, they helped her phone an ambulance, all these things. And like loads of people had replied like, oh, I was there, like I helped your mum. And like it's just like stuff like that really just helps so much in the community.
It's
like
so, yeah.
I think for every one story of someone
beautiful.
not being nice, there's 5 stories of someone being nice. Like I truly believe there's more good.
Oh, absolutely. Like I know especially on social media, you know, people, to raise awareness or whatever the cause is, people post a lot of negative things that are happening, which is true. We need to kind of be aware of what's happening, what people do, what's going on in the world. But at the same time, I think good deeds don't go, like, it's not like you go and record something, you know, someone does not something nice
you're
for
right.
you go like, thank you, you know, like you record it. So there are so many, I think that yes, there are bad people, but then there are so many good people doing good things every day. And like the smallest things can change a person's life, you know, like in the story, it's wonderful, you know, this girl shows up to find her dog, but then sees more than just her dog, you know, like the house, it was probably messy, or she probably couldn't walk properly, needed, you know, pain meds, she couldn't go get them. And it's like one thing led her to that. And she could have just said thank you and left, or maybe give her money or whatever. But she actually started cleaning her house and doing this and that. So imagine that compassion that they felt for each other, you know? So
it's so
that's
beautiful.
I
love it
almost
so
like real
much.
here.
Honestly, I can't
I know, it's so beautiful.
And, you know, I think we need to normalize that, like, asking for help for specific things. Like, I know, like, we always talk about, you know, you need to ask for help, but it can be hard sometimes to ask for help and hard to ask for help for specific things. But I've been on, like, the receiving end of somebody saying, hey, could you help me clean my flat? And being like, absolutely, I would love to do that. Like, you genuinely want to do that. Like, your friend asking for help and specific help that is like very tangible, and like, you know, it's just a joy. It's like just a joy to be able to help somebody in that way, and knowing like after this hour, this person's going to feel so much better. Like, that is just so nice. And the person, I think we get so scared of asking for ourselves because we feel like a burden. We feel we're stressing people out. Like we're so stupid, we can't do it ourselves. It's not a weakness. It's actually so brave. It's such a strength to be able to say, hey, I need you to take me to the shops today. It's so brave.
Yeah, I agree. I think also the way the world is going, it's like you're supposed to be independent. You're supposed to be a go-getter. You know, like achieve your goals. Like, how can you not do this, do that? You know, at least that's the type of, you know, content that I think now, thank God, my Instagram has changed a little bit. I told it what to do. But I was getting, for a good chunk of last year, I was getting all those motivational kind of videos and posts, like, and there are memes now about it, you know. I saw this kid, oh my God, it's so funny. He was like mocking all this like entrepreneurs or whatever. He was like, this is how you're gonna fix your life. You're gonna wake up at 2 a.m. Don't even think about it. You know, you're gonna create an LLC by 5. You know, it's like the ridiculous expectations.
Honestly,
you know,
it is, and Instagram can be so full of that.
Think like you're supposed to be independent. Yeah, absolutely. I was gonna say that.
And it's actually quite dangerous. Like, I don't know if you've seen like a lot of coaches, and this is maybe a sensitive topic, but my personal opinion, you know, coaches like life coaches, financial coaches, business coaches, I'm sure there are millions of coaches out there that are really great, that really care, that are just like doing great things for the industry. But you can say you're a coach when you've had no training whatsoever in anything. You know, you can say, I am a coach of this.
Oh, yeah.
And then give people, you know, questionable advice. And people with anxiety could or, you know, other mental health problems could go and try and get help, and they're getting help from somebody that's not qualified, and they could be, you know, it's a vulnerable position. And I do worry about stuff like that, and the entrepreneur side of like coaches and business and stuff.
Oh, yeah. There's a whole talk about this. Like, there's somebody, I don't know who it is, honestly, but he or she said, you can teach anything online and make money out of it. And that's not true, because a lot of times people don't consider the mental health factor, especially when it comes to money. Like, there was a video of a kid, like, putting all his college savings into, like, the stock market. And he had lost it. He was crying on TikTok, you know? And he was following this financial coach. And I was like, that's so crazy to me. And, you know, where I was going with this is like, we're trained to be all these independent individuals, you know. So asking for help, being honest about your life, saying, you know what, I'm not doing great. I actually need help. You know, today I can't really do this, you know. It's like frowned upon. And, you know, even though mental health is, now we're all talking about it, people are being more honest, they're sharing their stories, as you can see, but there's still that fear factor, you know, like, oh, what are people gonna say? Like, you're a 20-something-year-old woman, you're a 30-year-old woman, like, you can't do this, you know, or you're having tough days. It's like embarrassing, you know. And we need to absolutely normalize asking for help, or saying, you know, today I'm not good.
Yeah.
You know, and for whatever the reasons are for this lady, you know, she was alone at home, she was sick, couldn't do a lot of things. And it's so sad that sometimes, you know, we have to reach to that point, you know. And it's probably not her fault too. Like, we have to consider also, like, maybe she doesn't have family, or she doesn't have friends. But it's so nice that also a stranger was willing to do that for her, you know. It's so 100%. Wonderful.
And it made me think, I saw something the other day as well. It was something like, you know, we are so, like, everywhere on social media you look is, let's talk about mental health. Let's talk about being kind. Let's talk about all this, until a workplace or, you know, society in general needs you to do something. And in that case, it's totally frowned upon. Like, this woman was saying that she has called the school that her daughter goes to loads of times when her daughter's not been well, sore throat, flu, whatever. But she called the school once and said, my daughter's had a really bad anxiety attack and she can't come to school. And they were saying, oh, well, you should, just because she's had an anxiety attack doesn't mean she shouldn't be in school. You should make her go to school. That's the way the world works. You can't just have a day off because you're feeling anxious. And it's like, well, we've been fighting for years and years and years to try and get to a place where people understand it. But as soon as it's a point where it's inconvenient for the school, for a workplace, whatever it might be, it completely, like,
it's
out the window.
Especially with kids, you know. And I know, like, I think older generations are used to that tough love kind of thing. At least where I come from, you know, it's like, oh, she's behaving, just do that. Or a simple, you know, they go like a slap on the hand, you know. We'll fix it. And like, oh, a child is going through anxiety, what? That doesn't sound right, you know. So but then people don't realize that mental health affects everybody, even teenagers, you know. Like, people say, oh, teenagers act up. No, some of them are really depressed. And when they tell you, you're supposed to believe them, because, like, you never know what they're gonna do. Teenagers now are so fragile, especially because I was telling this to my cousin the other day. I am so blessed, like all of us, the four of us, because we grew up in the 90s, that social media wasn't there. So we weren't comparing ourselves, even though, you know, there was MTV, there was all this. And yes, a lot of people grew up with eating disorders, for example. But now the pressure is so much bigger, you know, like I was telling you, everything is online and you're comparing yourself to everybody, and the way you dress, the way you look, your body, what you're eating, what you're doing now. It's like, children entrepreneurs, you know, like teenagers that are making $500,000 per year selling something. Like, it's like so much pressure. And I feel so bad sometimes for young people now, because they're like, how are they growing up, you know?
This is what I think I like most about this story. It's like, this is it's like stripping everything back to the simplest thing in life, which is seeing somebody in person, looking at somebody in the eyes and seeing this person needs a soul to chat to, and they need somebody to help them a little bit with their ailments. And that's what life is. Literally, that is what life is. And if you're somebody listening that has been caught in the social media trap, which I have, like yesterday, I was looking through my Instagram stories and I was like, all these people are doing all these things and I've not done anything today. Like, this person's with this person's gone, you know, to this place, whatever, and I've just sat here and not done anything.
What have you achieved?
What have I achieved? You know,
Yeah.
I've not had fun. I've not done this.
Yeah.
But you know, it's actually so much more simple, isn't it? Than we're all making out. It's so much more simple. Like, you know, the beauty is in the really simple things, I think.
Yeah, and to really see people for who they are, really, you know, like, we got to remember that content is, I don't know, there's like a percentage, somebody did this, that is fake, you know, and then this is why I love real content, you know, people showing how they really live, how they are, you know, like it's everything looks perfect on social media, but then you go see their houses, really, how is it, you know?
Yeah.
And like, this girl going to this lady's house and just seeing everything, how she really is, how she's living, who she really is, you know, or how she's struggling. It's like, that's not one person. That's just not her. That, to me, that's a lot of people.
Yeah.
You know, like I was telling you, you know, we were talking about before this phone call, we were like, I was watching like a lady clean her kitchen and store her food and everything and just like looks so perfect. But then I'm like, look at my kitchen, you know, like, and today I don't feel like cleaning it, you know, like I am 100%. Going through a major breakdown, right?
And,
you know, like,
you know,
and that's a lot of people.
For sure. Like, and also like, even, you know, I make content online about anxiety, and actually, you know, on Anxiety Chats Instagram, a little plug, and also my own Instagram, and I always am very particular about where I film those videos, and like I will do a tiny little tidy of that area before I, you know, press record. But you know, the rest of my flat looks awful. And it's just a lived in home.
Yeah.
And me and my boyfriend both work, and it's not, we don't always have time to do all, like, clean the whole house. Like, that's, you know, that's the reality.
Yeah.
Behind every single content creator's like really nice, pretty aesthetic space is like a pile of mess.
Yeah. Oh, I believe it. I believe it. I think I've been there too, once or twice. I think, yeah, we have to be aware. But yeah, be empathetic towards people too. Like, you really never know, even though they might sound perfect on the outside, you know, like whoever saw this lady at the beach, they must have been like, oh, what a nice lady, walking slowly. I want to be like her when I grow old, you know, just live by the beach and go for nice walks. But really, you know, she's struggling. She has a knee problem.
Yes.
She has a house that's messy. No one's there to help her.
Yeah.
You know, so it comes down to compassion, having compassion for people.
For sure.
So that's a nice story.
It was such a nice story. Thank you, everybody, so much for listening to this one.
I
loved this one so much. I'm going to be thinking about this story for the rest of the day.
Oh, me too. I love it. I think if there's a take out of this story is like, even if you know, especially if you run into somebody that is rude to you today, maybe think about how he or she is living, you know, like there's a reason probably why they're so angry or something. So it makes you really see life with a different lens, you know. It's a beautiful way to end it, I think.
100%. Thank you so much, everybody, for listening today. We will be back with a new episode soon, and I hope you all have a nice week.
Yeah.
Goodbye.
Bye-bye.